call.
Ms. Romero? Mr. Cunningham?
Mr. Cunningham.
Mr. Durham? Here. Mrs. Scott?
Here.
Mr. Fimbres? Here. Mr. Kozaczyk? Mayor Rothschild?
Here. Item 2.
Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
The invocation will be given by Pastor Larry Munguia from the Sober Project. After the invocation, I ask that you remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. Mayor, sir, thank you so much. City Council members, just in case I don't get back here by the end of the year, I want to thank you guys personally. Not only what we've been doing here in this chamber over the last couple of years, but the stuff that we've been able to do out there. We together, I've seen you out there, together we've sat out there and we've seen things happen in the city. Mr. Mayor, you did a great job. We're grateful for what you've done and the sacrifice your family's done for our city. If you're so inclined, let's all bow our heads. Lord, I ask you to just do this. These men and women that you've put here, you've laid them and put them in charge of our city. You've given them the wisdom and the knowledge that they need, Lord, so now that I ask you to give them the hearts. I ask you to put them out there, Lord, that use them for your glory, for the city of Tucson, man. This city be a shining a gem in your crown, Lord, that this would be a godly city. And there would be a city that people would want to flock to because it's safe, it's comfortable, and people like each other. I ask you to bless this city council, bless this city in itself. We ask you this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Larry.
Absolutely.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless you guys.
Bless you.
All right, thanks, man. Okay, I'd like to proclaim July 2019 to be Parks and Recreation Month. Brent Dennis, Parks and Recreation Director, is here to accept the proclamation. Brent, if you come forward, I'll meet you down there. So I see you've got yourself a little banner you put up for us. Fantastic. I got to tell you that I was over at Udall the other night. It was 105 outside. I needed to get my steps in, and I was able to walk around that path. I didn't see Councilman Cunningham over there, but I know he spends a lot of time there. So our parks are really integral to our community. They're really integral to the quality of life, the work you did last year so that we could get that additional funds in from the community to build our parks up. You were a big part of that. But this is Parks and Recreation Month, so I'd like to go ahead and read this proclamation. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Tucson, and parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all residents, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. Where parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic diseases, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all residents. Whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the City of Tucson recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources, now therefore I, Jonathan Rothschild, Mayor of the City of Tucson, do hereby proclaim the month of July 2019 to be Parks and Recreation Month in this community and encourage all of our residents to play in and enjoy Tucson's Parks and Recreations Department, also known as the Department of Fun, you must add that, outstanding facilities, services, and programs, and to appreciate the special people who provide them. Whereas I put my hand and seal this 9th day of July, 2019. Brent, thank you for all the work you do, and your department. There you go.
Thank you.
Do you want to say it?
Thank you, Mayor Rothschild. So really it's an honor on behalf of, at the peak of summer, over 600 Parks and Recreation team members to receive this proclamation and remind the entire community that we're out there to help lead a healthy community in fitness areas, leisure activities, and above all else to just have fun. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Brent. Item 2D.
Appointments to boards, committees, and commissions.
City Manager's Communication Number 236, dated July 9, is received into and made part of the record. May I have a motion to approve the appointments in the report?
So moved.
I think we've got a motion to approve the appointments of Lonnie Anderson to the Commission on Food Security, Heritage, and Economy, Daniela Figueroa to the Metropolitan Education Commission, Sarah Bachman-Williams and Tom Beal to the Armory Park Historic Zone Advisory Board, and Carol Griffin to the Tucson Pima County Historical Commission. Are any of those people present here tonight? Okay. No, but thank you for your service. All of these folks serve without compensation and really provide us information we need to be able to make better decisions. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Are there any personal appointments to be made at this time? If not, let's move on to item 3.
Mayor and council report, summary of current events.
City Manager's Communication Number 220, dated July 9, is received and made part of the record. This time has been scheduled to allow members of the mayor and council to report on current events. Does any council member have anything to report at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to invite the community to celebrate the completion of the restoration of a 1970s mural at El Rio Neighborhood Center. Renowned artists David Dineo and Alfonso Chavez, as well as local youth, have been working hard this summer to restore and repair 3 of the original 1970s murals. I invite you to a ribbon cutting and community celebration this Saturday, July 20th. Join us for great music, food, incredible art, and the celebration of a restoration of these iconic community murals. Again, it's the mural celebration, Saturday, July 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. at El Rio Neighborhood Center, located at 1390 West Speedway Boulevard. Any questions, please call the Ward 1 Council office at 791-4040.
Councilmember Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is this Saturday, July the 13th. We are celebrating the 19th annual Back to School Bash. The community is invited to come. The hours are 8 to 11. It will be held at the William Clements Center at 8155 East Poinciana Drive. It's a free breakfast at backpacks, which include, we're trying to give backpacks to any child that shows up who's in school with quantities limited. We have booths and raffle prizes. You must be present to win. And at the same time, on the same location, the William Clements Center is celebrating its 20th anniversary. And their celebration overlaps ours. Their hours are 11 to 3 p.m. There's free swim, some inflatable playground equipment to play on for children, games, food vendors, and a weight room orientation every hour. And in addition, the American Red Cross is asking for you to donate blood. The American Red Cross has a critical blood shortage and went on a national appeal as of today. Currently, they have a less than 3-day supply on their shelves. 80% of the blood they collect and distribute locally comes from community-sponsored drives like this one. In order to help push for more volunteers, the Ward 4 office will be giving out gift cards to the first 16 donors. Plus, everyone who donates will be getting a Kids Get In free coupon to either Arizona Sea Life Aquarium or Legoland in Phoenix, compliments of the American Red Cross. Please come and donate on Saturday, July the 13th from 8 to 2 at the William Clements Center, 8155 East Poinciana Drive, and remember to bring your identification. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Scott, and thank you for the Back to School Bash. It's been a great tradition on the east side of town. You've served an incredible amount of children over the years, and I hope your successor continues that tradition for sure.
I think the community would appreciate that, and thank you for your kind words. And all are invited, even those on my council.
Councilmember Fimbres.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Wednesday, June 19th, I had the privilege of speaking at the 3rd Annual University of Arizona Southside Community Gathering at Rigo's for University of A President Robert Roberts, Athletic Director David Hickey, and football coach Kevin Sumlin. I want to thank those who participated, and he wanted us all to remember to bear down. On Tuesday, June 25th, I had the privilege of speaking along with Mayor Rothschild and Geico CEO Bill Roberts at the dedication of the ribbon cutting of the new Geico regional headquarters at the Bridges in Ward 5, which will have 2,100 employees working there and expanding their workforce by 700. Geico President and CEO Bill Roberts and Geico Tucson Regional Vice President Michelle Trinidad and Mayor Rothschild joined me in speaking at the ribbon cutting. I also want to thank Martha Fermas, retired Tucson Regional Vice President for Geico, for her work to get the new regional headquarters built. I also want to thank Supervisor Ramon Valadez for his also participation. I want to thank Don Bourne Company, Eric Davis Retail West, and the University of Arizona for working together to amend the development agreement so that Geico could be built. I want to thank my colleagues on the council for the support of the bridges. And I want to thank the 4 neighborhoods, Pueblo Gardens, Las Vistas, Western Hills, 2, and South Park for their hard work in making this bridges event happen. Also on Saturday, June 29th, I had the privilege of attending a wonderful community event where the Western Hills 2 neighborhood, led by Willie Blake, got to do a meet and greet with the police, firefighters, community service officers, and park rangers who serve them. This was a true sense of community policing. Special thanks goes to Willie Blake and the Western Hills 2 neighborhood, and to Tucson Police Department South Division Captain John Strader, Sergeant Will Corrales, and Officer Scooby Fernandez, the Tucson Fire Department, and especially Jerry Neely, Director of the Quincy Douglas Neighborhood Center, and the Ward 5 staff, Lupita Robles and Mark Kerr. Many of the neighbors came to the park and also had wonderful hamburgers and hot dogs, sodas and ice, cold water. Also on Saturday, June 29th, I had the privilege of reading the City of Tucson Proclamation and the Ward 5 Certificate of Appreciation for Melissa Santa Cruz. It was Melissa Santa Cruz Day. Melissa has done so much with her work in radio, current with Tejano Radio 1600 in Tucson. I also presented Melissa and her husband with a Medallion of Hope. During her time on the radio, Melissa has provided safety and community messages which we have taken to hear. More than 750 people were in attendance at the El Casino Ballroom to honor Melissa, including elected officials and representatives who read proclamations and letters detailing Melissa's 30 years of work and commitment to our community. Cassandra Becerra from Congressman Raul Grijalva's office read the congressional record letter Congressman Grijalva delivered on the House floor. South Tucson Mayor Robert Teso read the proclamation for the City of Tucson, and the South Tucson Council member Aquina Ogobalo was with the Mayor, Pete Yucopicio, the Vice Chair of the Pascoyaqui Tribe, and David Ramirez from the Tribal Council also honored Melissa Santa Cruz for her work. Her idol, KVOA's Lupita Murillo, also paid tribute to Melissa. It was a great night and great sense of community. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Let's move on to item 4.
City Manager's Report, Summary of Current Events.
City Manager's Communication number 221 dated July 9 is received into and made part of the record. This time has been scheduled to allow the City Manager to report on current events. Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor, no report today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item 5.
Liquor License Applications Report from City Manager.
City Manager's Communication number 227 dated July 9 is received into and made part of the record. Mr. Clerk, please read the liquor license agenda.
Your Honor, on this evening's liquor license agenda, under item 5B, we have 1 request for new license. Under item 5C, we have 3 requests for special events. Staff has indicated that all the applicants are in compliance with city requirements. However, item 5C1 has a written argument in opposition filed, so that item will be considered separately. An appropriate motion would be to forward items 5B1 and C2 through 3 to the State Liquor Board with a recommendation of approval.
Can I get that motion, please?
So moved.
Got a motion and a second to approve 5B1 and 5C2 and 3. Any discussion on those items? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? That matter passes. 5C1 will be taken separately. That's a Ward 3 matter, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Councilmember Durham?
I move we send the item to the State Liquor Control Board with a recommendation of approval.
Okay. We've got a motion and a second on that item. Any other discussion? Have no cards on it, so all in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Let's move on to item 6.
Call to the audience.
This time, any member of the public is allowed to address the mayor and council on any issue. Please make sure you've read the information on the back of the speaker's card before making your presentation. Speakers are limited to 3-minute presentations. Call the audience is scheduled to last for 30 minutes. Pursuant to the Arizona Open Meeting Law, individual council members may ask the city manager to review a matter, ask the matter to be placed on a future agenda, respond to criticisms made by speakers. However, the mayor and council may not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during call to the audience. We do have 2 cards tonight, so we'll just take them in order. JP Salvatierra.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask that because we have the majority of the entire month's agenda on one calendar day, that we be allowed to extend our terms, hardly any cards, to 5 minutes, a minimum of 5 minutes.
I'll give you, because it's the wonderful holiday, I'll give you 5 minutes.
I wanted 6, but
Maybe, should we settle at 4.5? No, okay. Okay. If we could.
Thank you so much, Mayor Rothschild, council members. My name is Jonathan Salvatierra. I'm a Tucson native, retired railroader, and advocate for the health and safety of our community. One of my favorite pastimes is following history and its repercussions upon our future, because as we all know, if we ignore the past, we're doomed to relive it. This is why I would recommend watching the Netflix documentary, Prosecuting Evil, the true documentary of Jewish attorney Ben Ferenz, who prosecuted Nazi war crimes and to this day, in his 90s, continues to advocate for binding international criminal tribunal imprisonment and reparations for victims of crimes against humanity, hate crimes, and malicious white-collar exploitation schemes by corporate multinationals in this pseudo-peacetime. Hitler made effective use of the color of authority to usurp prudent government policy from its people, made profitable alliances with other foreign dictators against public interest, falsified truth against public interest, and falsified truth to justify war and privatization of national public assets and resources worldwide. Under the same color of authority, blatant administrative election fraud and artifice by gerrymandering and voter suppression took place during the U.S. 2016 election cycle in over 30 states nationwide. That saw Bernie Sanders ousted under circumstances that included Hillary Clinton's payoff of DNC's legal counsel to abandon procedure and misrepresent the integrity of the Democratic Party to favor an oligarchy multinational candidate in Trump. This is an economic coup d'etat. This is an economic coup d'etat against America's society and our national resources, like Rosemont Mine, for an investor plan to permanently toxify our municipal watershed using Phelps Dodge purchased Greenlee County agriculture water allowances to draw unlimited precious water, groundwater, in Sahuarita, then pumping it over 20 miles to satisfy Rosemont Mine use. Even the Pima County Board of Supervisors last week went into executive session to consult legal counsel on rationale to approve Rosemont Mine's future toxic lake open pit destruction of our national aquifer and watershed, at a time when 80% of Tucson's drinking water is supplemented by a threatened CAP future allotment. Is Tucson city water discharge the same TARP PFAS contamination recharge blended with CAP water into the Santa Cruz now? And I'll forego the rest of this because the other 2 points are very important. One is the El Rio Gulf Flood Control District that John Spiker had come in to resolve some issues about. And I walked that area, especially from the north end of the golf course on Mojave. It extends about 4 or 5 blocks until it dead ends at the Santa Cruz. And it's an ideal platform to take that city street and run a nice fat culvert all the way out and discharge excess water. But in addition to that, it's right at the top of the second fair and green, the tee and the green, that actually is the lowest point in that area. So a special signature golf hole could be done with that part, and then the detention, retention, and a nice little kickouts down the street to make it attractive, and a nice bicycle walkway on one side with trees. That is all a convenient plan that we do in the Los Barrios. The other is way back at Drachman and Oracle, Tucson Police Department had consumer affairs and referral services. And it was a fantastic, immediate resolution to the public's issues. And so many of them that it would humiliate them to come before this board to do something like, trying to get everything resolved within 3 minutes, and to a public that, a board that can't say anything about it. This was a fantastic entity. It resolved things immediately. It could be joined in with the neighborhoods that could give their feedback, and then high priority issues could be addressed through them as a conduit, and it would increase, the ability and the interaction with the public, which is hugely important. Right now, if you have a problem, you may just have to send it out to fill out an accident report online. But this is a really huge potential thing that can resolve a lot of anguish and frustration.
Thank
for
you,
all
JP.
of you.
Thank you, JP.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
2 things. Albert, real quick, where are we on I know there's been a lot of conversation about El Rio. Where are we on that whole story?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that project is undergoing some final revisions based on some of the input we've gotten from the community, but we believe we will be able to get the project underway so that it's completed by September, and that allows a couple things to happen. It allows us to it allows the disruption to play at the golf course to occur during the months when there is the fewest players, and it also allows us to complete the work before overseeding occurs at the golf course.
All right. Well, take into account, please, Mr. Salvatierra's concerns. Mr. Ortega, could you just pass on to the chief the request about what we used to do? I know our chief is totally into community policing, and it seems like a pretty simple suggestion. So if you just pass that along. All right. Thank you. Let's go to Ed Legendre. Ed Legendre?
My name is Ed Lejeune, and I live at 8261 East Shiloh in Tucson on the east side. And I represent myself. I'm a general contractor. I've been one for 42 years. The reason I'm here is to address a need, a want and a need that the city has where buckled sidewalks are all over the place. Quite frankly, I golfed El Rio yesterday, and you can hit a 7-iron about 220 yards with the way the fair. This is a picture of a sidewalk right across from El Rio. And and it's not a real affluent neighborhood, but the person who's this adjacent to is going to have to fix this. This happens to be a sidewalk that the city is on the El Rios on the side of the city, which has to be fixed now. What I'm trying to do is to find a way to tap into CDBG funds for individuals who live in the poor neighborhoods to repair these sidewalks. I get quite a few of my, I advertise on Home Advisor, and I get 2 or 3 calls every week to come out and fix a sidewalk that's buckled. It takes about 4 hours, 2 men, 4 hours of loading, driving, setting up, breaking out, forming, mixing, pouring, picking up, getting in the truck, go to the dump, and do another one. We need to do 2 a day. Each one of these cost about $600 to $700. So if I do 2 a day, my men cost me $600. The overhead is $400 or $500, and to have a little bit of profit is what's left over. Besides this, there's right-of-way permits that are required, and these permits are quite cumbersome, and they're timely, and they add another $400 or $500 to this permit. I'm working with Fred Felix right now to see if there's a way to facilitate these permits these people have to get. And remember that the people who I'm working for, I go there, I know they don't have the money to fix this. It's your aunt, it's your grandmother, it's the lady next door, and these people, the areas are not lit at night. They don't comply with ADA. I heard a bunch of ADA earlier. Right now, I would like to find out what city, I have called some CDBG numbers but haven't been received anything, so that's why I'm down here. But who do I work with to try to set up a program that individual CDBG funds be tapped into when people are notified that the sidewalk's out of compliance?
So sir, either Mr. Elias or Mr. Ortega, I can tell you that, and council can correct me, so the CDBG requirements are very strict. A couple of years ago, we did actually allocate some money for sidewalk work out of CDBG, but so it's a conversation.
It's cumbersome. It's very
yeah, it's a.
Your Honor,
yeah, go ahead, Paul.
it's Mr. Lejeune.
Lejeune.
It's Mr. Lejeune is one of my constituents, so my office is right down the street from 8100 Shiloh, right?
Shiloh.
Yeah. So, Mr. Manager, why don't we work with my staff and maybe the Transportation Department to set up a meeting with Mr. Lejeune and take a look at some of the options we have. We may not have to use CBDG. There's a couple other options.
Well, there's 2 things that are happening. One is the bureaucracy to receive a right-of-way permit, which is necessary because if you're working in the streets, you have lane closures. These sidewalks are not hazards. They're beyond.
Yeah, I think there's some opportunity here.
Can
I reach out to you and we can meet offline in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah. Okay. So you can meet with Paul, Mr. Ortega.
Mr. Mayor, I think it'd be best if I'll meet with Mr. Lejeune and get in touch with the ward offices. But just to remind the council,
Our city manager is going to, if you can leave a card or something, Mr. Ortega will get in touch with you and he'll set up a meeting with Councilmember Cunningham and you. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, sir. All right.
I have a question about that, though. Are we contracting out, or is TDOT doing this work?
Mr. Mayor, just to refresh your memory, we do have both at this point. We do have some in-house and we do have some contracting. And so that's part of the conversation we need to have in terms of how that gets accomplished. And just to refresh your memory, that program does focus on some of the areas that are in the census tracts where CDBG would apply, although we're not necessarily using those dollars, but we are focusing on those census tracts.
Okay, let's move on to item 7.
Consent agenda items A through M.
Reports from the city manager on the consent agenda are received into and made part of the record. Mr. Clerk, you're requested to read the consent agenda.
Your Honor, on this evening's consent agenda, item A is approval of minutes. Item B is Tucson Code, amending Chapter 23B, the Unified Development Code, extending the sunset date relating to the sign code. Item C is an intergovernmental agreement amendment with the Arizona Health Care Cost Containment System for funding of an intelligent analyst supporting the southwest border high-intensity drug trafficking area. Item D is an intergovernmental agreement with Arizona Health Care Cost Containment System for funding the Arizona State Opioid Response Grant Program. Item E is pre-annexation and development agreement with A5 LLC and About PC profit sharing plan, owners of parcels 205-46-003P, 205-46-003Q, 205-46-003S, and 205-46-003T for water service. Item F is pre-annexation and development agreement with St. Philip's Office Park LLC, the John Michael Sarikas and Vala J. Merriman Trust, and the Robert Murphy Trust, owners of parcels 108-23-105A, 106A, 1030, 1040, 108-18-033B, 033C, 034B, and 034D for water service and development incentives. This item will be considered separately at the request of Councilmember Kozaczek. Item G is a pre-annexation and development agreement with Title Security Agency LLC Trust 201543S, beneficiary Lucky 11 Railroad LLC, owner of parcels 14107, 0290, 0310, 022A, 0330, 0350, 022B, 0320, 0250, 0340, 0240, 0360, 0220, and 0370 for water service. Item H is an intergovernmental agreement amendment with Pima County for ongoing use and support of the Pima County Wireless Integrated Network. Item I is an intergovernmental agreement with Northwest Fire District for dispatching services. Item J is financial participation agreements with Pima Association of Governments, Tucson Clean and Beautiful, and the Arts Foundation for Tucson and Southern Arizona, and an intergovernmental agreement with Pima County for victim services for fiscal year 2020. Item K is an intergovernmental agreement with Pima County for animal care and enforcement services. Item L is finance, authorizing the chief financial officer to submit the annual expenditure limitation report. Item M is surplus property, donation of a 2008 Harley-Davidson electric glide motorcycle to the Tucson Children's Museum. That's the extent of the consent agenda, Your Honor.
Appropriate motion is A through M with the exception of item F.
Yes, Your Honor.
Can we get that motion?
I move we approve A through M with the exception of item F.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on those items? Hearing none.
I just wanted to, for being able to read off G2.
There are a lot of zeros in there, I noticed. All right, let's go to roll call.
Mr. Durham?
Aye.
Mayor Rothschild?
Aye.
Mr. Fimbres?
Aye.
Mr. Cunningham?
Aye.
Ms. Romero?
Aye.
Mr. Kozaczek?
Aye.
Mrs. Scott?
Aye.
Those items are passed by a vote of 7-0. Item F, Councilmember Kozaczek, you had some questions about that?
I do. Reading the material on the, under present considerations, it says the PATA will establish zoning conditions, and I've left some language out. And we have 6 or 7 pages of conditions that are agreed to by whoever's negotiated this. And I just want to clarify, this is a very similar concern that I had earlier today with the Pasquayaki deal, and it feels as though we're engaging in contract zoning, and want to make sure that we are going to go through the public processes with related to both the PATA and the zoning, so that, and I understand they're simultaneous, so that we're not agreeing to zoning conditions without a public process and public voice in that process.
Mr. Rankin?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Councilmember Kozaczek, that's correct. The decision on the zoning will remain a legislative decision of the mayor and council that is subject to the full code and statutorily required process going through the zoning examiner for a recommendation. This does, as you mentioned, allow the process to be simultaneous, so the proposed future zoning will come to the council contemporaneously with the annexation, so that the property owner can have a level of assurance that the zoning is acceptable to the council before the annexation is completed. But yes, the full rezoning process will apply. There are rezoning conditions identified in the PATA. For example, some conditions relating to the height, and those are in some instances actually limiting the zoning beyond what the proposed future rezoning to the OCR1 would allow. But regardless, it will be up to the mayor and council to approve or not the proposed future zoning.
And it'll be made clear that when the public hearing is advertised, and that this is not a done deal. And for instance, you mentioned one of the limiting ones. One of them also says that any protected riparian areas can be impacted for any improvements, and so that's a conversation that ought to happen. And moving, allowing rights of way on a scenic corridor to be abandoned, and those kinds of things.
And in light of that, knowing that there will be conversation points, the agreement provides that we will actually schedule it both for study session and the regular session at the time when it would be considered, so some of those issues can be addressed at study before even we have any contemplated action on the evening agenda.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. I move the item.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I think it's roll call again.
Ms. Romero? Aye. Mr. Cunningham?
Aye.
Mr. Durham?
Aye.
Mrs. Scott?
Aye.
Mr. Fimbres?
Aye.
Mr. Kozaczek?
Aye.
Mayor Rothschild?
Aye. Item F passes 7-0. Let's move to item 8.
Annexation, South KOLB Annexation District Ordinance Adoption. Report from City Manager, Ordinance Number 11666.
City Manager's Communication Number 235, dated July 9, is received into and made part of the record. Mr. Clerk, you're requested to read Ordinance 11666 by number and title only.
Ordinance Number 11666 relating to annexation, extending and increasing the corporate limits of the City of Tucson, Pima County, Arizona, pursuant to the provisions of Title IX, Chapter 4, Arizona Revised Statutes, by annexing thereto the South KOLB Annexation District property, more particularly described in the body of this ordinance.
What's the council's pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I move we pass and adopt ordinance number 11666.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's go to roll call.
Mrs. Scott?
Aye.
Mr. Kozaczek? Ms. Romero?
Aye.
Mr. Fimbres?
Aye.
Mayor Rothschild?
Aye.
Mr. Durham?
Aye.
Mr. Cunningham?
Aye.
Ordinance 11666 passes by a vote of 6.5 to a quarter. I don't know. 7-0. All right, item 9.
Zoning C151901, establishing original city zoning for the South KOLB Annexation District, County SP to City Pad 26, ordinance adoption, extension of the major streets and routes plan and airport environ zone, report from city manager, report from zoning examiner, ordinance number 11663.
City Manager's Communication Number 231, dated July 9, is received into and made part of the record. This is a request to establish original city zoning within the South KOLB Annexation District. The district includes approximately 94.76 acres located on the east side of KOLB Road, south and west of Valencia Road, and north of Interstate 10. The zoning examiner and staff recommend approval of Pad 26 zoning, extension of the major streets and routes overlay along KOLB Road, and extension of the airport environ zone overlay within the South KOLB Annexation District. Mr. Clerk, you're requested to read Ordinance 11663 by number and title only.
Ordinance number 11663 relating to zoning, establishing original city zoning in the area located on the east side of KOLB Road, south and west of Valencia Road, approximately 1 3/4 miles north of Interstate 10 in case C151901, South KOLB Annexation District, County SP to City Pad 26, and setting an effective date.
What's the council's pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the request for original city zoning as recommended by the zoning examiner and pass and adopt ordinance number 11663.
Get it?
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, let's go to roll call.
Mr. Cunningham?
Aye.
Mrs. Scott?
Aye.
Mr. Kozaczek? Ms. Romero?
Aye.
Mayor Rothschild?
Aye.
Mr. Durham?
Aye.
Mr. Fimbres?
Ordinance 11663 passes by a vote of 7-0. Item 10.
Zoning SE 1905 AT&T Randolph Way, R1 Zone Wireless Communication Facility, Special Exception Land Use, Ordinance Adoption, report from City Manager, report from Zoning Examiner, Ordinance number 11664.
City Manager's Communication Number 232, dated July 9, is received into and made part of the record. This is a special exception land use request for property located approximately 1,200 feet north of 22nd Street and 2,400 feet east of Country Club Road within Reed Park. Staff recommends approval of the wireless communication tower as a special exception land use in the R1 zone. The zoning examiner recommends approval of the special exception subject to the recommended conditions. Is the applicant or representative present on this matter? Could you come forward, sir? Could you state your name and who you represent?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Steve Olson. I'm with Bechtel Infrastructure and Power Corporation representing AT&T. My address is 10641 North Camino Rosas, Nuevas in Oro Valley.
Okay. Is your client agreeable to the proposed requirements in the ordinance?
Yes, they are, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, you requested to read ordinance 11664 by number and title only.
Ordinance number 11664 relating to zoning, a special exception land use wireless communications facility, SE 1905 AT&T Randolph Way, located approximately 1,200 feet north of 22nd Street and 2,400 feet east of Country Club Road, approving with conditions the construction of a wireless communication facility with 3 antenna panels concealed within a monopine, 125 feet in height, within an approximately 528 square foot lease area in the R1 zone, and setting an effective date.
What's the council's pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I've got a question for staff. Why wouldn't, in the conditions, there be a rental, any rental revenue back to the city included in this?
Who has the answer to that?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the rental amount will be established in a lease agreement, which will be a separate document from the special exception. So this is the zoning that clears the way, but there will be a lease agreement required, and we will charge our market rate.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anybody else? Any other questions? If not,
move the item.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to roll call.
Mr. Kozaczek?
Aye.
Ms. Romero?
Aye.
Mayor Rothschild?
Aye.
Mr. Cunningham?
Aye.
Mrs. Scott?
Aye.
Mr. Fimbres?
Aye.
Mr. Durham?
Aye.
Ordinance 11664 passes by a vote of 7-0. Item 11.
City Magistrate, appointment of special city magistrate and fixing compensation. Report from City Manager, ordinance number 11665.
City Manager's communication number 233, dated July 9, is received into and made part of the record. Mr. Clerk, you are requested to read ordinance 11665 by number and title only.
Ordinance number 11665 relating to city magistrates pursuant to Tucson Code Section 8-2.2, appointing Karen L. Diebolt as special city magistrate to serve upon call by the presiding magistrate of the Tucson City Court, fixing compensation and declaring an emergency.
What's the council's pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I move to pass and adopt ordinance 11665, naming Karen L. Diebolt as special city magistrate.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? I don't see her. Ms. Diebolt? No. All right. No discussion. Let's go to roll call.
Mr. Fimbres?
Aye.
Mr. Durham?
Aye.
Mr. Cunningham?
Aye.
Mayor Rothschild?
Aye.
Mr. Kozaczek? Mrs. Scott?
Aye.
Ms. Romero?
Aye.
Ordinance 11665 passes by a vote of 7-0. Item 12.
Adjournment?
Council stand adjourned. Next regularly scheduled meeting will be on Tuesday, August 6, 2019, 5:30 p.m. right here. Thank you.